The U.S. Supreme Court sided with Hobby Lobby in a case concerning contraceptive coverage under the federal healthcare mandate. The High Court ruled the Oklahoma City-based company and other closely held corporations can deny health insurance coverage for some contraceptives if they object to them based on religious grounds. In a 5-4 ruling, the justices said the Federal Religious Freedom Restoration Act protects the craft store from financing coverage for contraceptive methods mandated by the Affordable Care Act. Now, the White House had argued allowing health insurance coverage exemptions based on religious grounds could lead some companies to deny coverage on a wide range of medical procedures. Here with more on the decision from the Supreme Court is Chris Casteel, who joins us now from the Oklahoman's Washington, D.C. office. Thanks for your time today, sir. A busy day for you.
Yeah, it has been.
But this was a case that you had been looking forward to during this entire session. Chris, was this a broad or a narrowing ruling?
Well, it probably depends on who you ask. You know, the majority was a 5-4 decision, and the majority of the 5 justices, the conservatives on the court, tried to emphasize this is a very narrow ruling. It's only about the contraceptive mandate. It's only about closely held corporations like Hobby Lobby and Conestoga Wood Specialties, which is a Pennsylvania company. That's also owned by a family and not publicly traded corporations. It's not IBM, it's not Apple, somebody like that. It's a privately held corporation, doesn't sell its stock. It basically sets all the policies. This family basically sets all the policies for the company. And that's what the court tried to limit this ruling to, and said that that we don't have any publicly traded corporations before us trying to claim religious beliefs on this issue. We don't expect very many, and we'll deal with it when they come. But they're basically saying, as for today, this ruling deals with the contraceptive mandate that was part of the Affordable Care Act, and it only applies to companies like Hobby Lobby and this Pennsylvania company that are held closely by families.
We're chatting with Chris Casteel via Skype today from our Washington, D.C. offices. Chris mentioned a few specifics from the ruling. You can find that ruling in its entirety online at newsok.com, and the justices did specifically say companies like IBM. Chris, another question.
But I should say, Dave, that the dissenters in this case, the 4 liberal justices, don't see it that way. I mean, they still, has been the kind of the case since oral arguments, what you heard from some of those justices was, look, this just opens this up to everything. I mean, you could, these corporations don't deserve this kind of protection anyway. This is meant for this kind of religious liberty was meant for individuals, and if you're going to grant these kinds of exemptions, there's no telling what's coming next from corporations. So anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Well, no, but you bring up a good point. In fact, looking at social media today on Twitter and Facebook, that's what a lot of people are doing, is taking this ruling and just running with it. But perhaps it kicks open the door, but perhaps there are broad interpretations. Perhaps we don't know yet.
It's impossible to know, really, because, as I said, I mean, the majority is trying to limit this decision as narrowly as it can, but who knows, what the next objection is going to be. I mean, there have been some before, and it's important to make the distinction that this, as you said in your intro, this decision came under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, not the First Amendment, and that's totally different. And there have been, cases in the past where somebody challenged, I shouldn't have to pay my taxes, or I shouldn't have to pay Social Security under under my religious beliefs, and the court has rejected those. So we'll see, and we'll see where this leads.
Yeah, the court mentioned something about the nonprofits. You got into that a second ago, and perhaps you can address that on this. My final question to you is, can congressional Democrats or the Obama administration fix the law? It seems like the justices hinted that perhaps there was a solution for the nonprofits. Perhaps there could have been a solution this way.
You got it precisely right. That's exactly what the majority said. Look, you've already set up under the Affordable Care Act, you've already set up this situation for people who work for churches, nonprofit religious organizations, a way for them to have their coverage paid for, still at no cost to them, by the insurance companies that provide the coverage to. So just do the same thing, is basically what the majority opinion says here. Is just allow the same mechanism to operate, for for these for-profit corporations. Though that mechanism is actually under legal attack as well. But the point is too that maybe the administration could do that on its own. But what are Democratic lawmakers who support the contraceptive mandate and the Affordable Care Act going to be able to do in Congress? Since they only control the Senate, and then by not enough to be able to do anything they absolutely want, because if they have to get like 60 votes on something, they probably won't be able to do it. It's going to be a struggle in Congress for them to quote fix this portion of the Affordable Care Act to ensure that this coverage is provided to women somehow. It's going to be an interesting political struggle, even as as we just spoke, this legal struggle will continue over this.
I was about to say that coming into the next round of elections, I'm sure this will come up again, right?
It will. And it'd be interesting to see how who it helps, if anybody. If it's not just a wash. But you're absolutely right about that.
Always an interesting and informative conversation. Chris, I appreciate the time.
Glad to do it, Dave. All
right, more coverage from Chris Casteel and analysis can be found in upcoming editions of The Oklahoman and online at newsok.com.